me, the complexity is not a bug, it's a feature of our system, and I don't think it's an accident. People have figured out what the system is and how to maximize their return, and that's why you see so many big players get involved. That's why you see the consolidation. That's why you see so many other features that we're talking about here today. But Mr. Martin, your group's membership has played a critical role in things like care coordination efforts and looking at sustainable value-based payment.
Some Republicans are even pushing in the opposite direction. In a Senate Agriculture Committee hearing last month, Ranking Member Senator John Boozman said that SNAP benefits and funding levels are unsustainable and criticized the recent increase in SNAP benefits. The total SNAP program cost is now nearly double what it was 5 years ago. Last month, Representative Mike Gaetz published a letter of 5 other members of the far-right House Freedom Caucus advocating for increasing requirements for SNAP recipients. Despite that, House Republicans will reevaluate SNAP benefits as part of the Farm Bill process. And New Jersey has already taken steps to boost SNAP benefits in the state by increasing the minimum benefit to $100 per household. It's a lot more than a national minimum of $23 and is almost double the minimum payment of $50 that the state set last year. Maryland also passed legislation late October to increase minimum SNAP payment to $40 a month in households with anyone over the age of 62. And according to the Hill, West Virginia lawmakers have introduced at least 5 SNAP-related bills since last year. These include a proposal to increase SNAP benefits for pregnant people and families with children by at least as much as the emergency allotments paid. So folks, I do believe that President Biden will send out more stimulus payments for the end of this year. First of all, lawmakers are now saying that Joe Biden does not want to reach an agreement on Social Security reform. It's a huge issue that could affect millions of seniors and retirees. The SA has released an updated schedule for checks. And one of the leaders of the bipartisan Senate working group that is focused on extending Social Security recently accused Biden of not engaging with them. It comes as they scramble for a way to keep the vital program solvent in past years. Senators Bill Cassidy and Angus King said this month that conversations are ongoing to reform the Social Security program, but there has been barely a word since. And several senators involved in the issue told Fox that they have not heard any updates in weeks. Cassidy also said that the bill and Biden's apparent unwillingness to meet is what's... We have a ton of good news about the Ford stimulus check, Social Security benefits, and SSI and SSDI. Now if you guys want to know the latest news about the Ford stimulus check, then continue watching this video. Biden is taking huge action this week to fight inflation, and the Biden administration has confirmed that addressing inflation and helping low-income households financially are their top priorities. Several new relief programs are being established this month. Confronted with a sharp decline in approval ratings and the relentless increase in consumer prices, President Biden is finally shifting to full inflation fighting mode with a month-long campaign intent to contain public outrage over the rising cost of everyday goods. The White House is taking steps to calm voters and their worries about surging inflation. They are signaling that Biden understands what U.S. households are enduring and that officials are maximizing efforts to bring prices under control. This comes ahead of the midterm elections. Just last week, Biden held a rare Oval Office meeting with Jerome Powell. Central bank officials hiked interest rates again on May 4th, lifting them by 50 basis points for the first time in 2 decades. Jerome Powell has said inflation is much too high, and the Fed has also announced plans to begin running down its massive $9 trillion balance sheet. The inflation report in April showed that prices cooled off a bit, but remain near a 40-year high. Core prices, which exclude gas and food, also accelerated more than expected, underscoring how strong inflationary pressures in the economy still are. With Biden's approval rating sinking to its low, the Biden administration finally has a brand new plan to fight inflation and help the American people. Millions of Americans may get extra $225 stimulus checks under this new stimulus proposal. Millions of Americans could also get additional cash payments of $225 under a new proposal. That comes as red-hot inflation continues, and qualifying residents in Indiana may soon see the relief. Indiana's Republican governor is also proposing a plan to send $225 payments to people in the state amid the highest inflation since 1981 by tapping into the state's growing budget surplus. The governor said he will call for a special legislative session before the end of June, so lawmakers can consider and potentially act on a plan that will total $1 billion in budget surpluses. He said Indiana residents have real needs right now during this period of high inflation. from the gas pump to buying groceries, and everyone should benefit from the state's success. The $225 check comes after about 4.3 million of the state's taxpayers began receiving $125 payments last month under the same law. According to the governor's office, if it's approved, each Indiana resident who has filed 2021 taxes would be eligible to now receive a combined total of about $350 in payments. Married couples filing jointly would also receive about $700. Now, Indiana will see another increase in state gasoline taxes starting July 1st amid promises of inflation relief, including a proposal to issue direct payments to Indiana residents later this month. The state's residents will pay 60 cents per gallon in taxes on gasoline. This is another jump from June's record high 60 cents per gallon tax. And fuel costs were expected to continue to rise in July, and the gas tax increase emerged along calls from Indiana Democrats since March to suspend the tax to aid residents feeling the worst inflation in 40 years. Governors everybody are taking big action to help Americans that are experiencing financial situations and difficulties right now. There is a big update. The Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Minnesota urged President Biden to pause the federal gas tax, just months after declining to pause her own state's gas tax. Governor Whitmer penned a letter to Biden asking him to work with Congress to temporarily pause the tax, a move that would save Americans 18.4 cents per gallon at the pump. The letter came after the president told reporters he was weighing whether to pursue such a policy. Governor Whitmer said in the letter, "Getting this done would save families money right now, as Americans bear the brunt of inflation and face rising prices on everything from groceries, childcare, rent, and other critical expenses. The federal government has the ability to reduce the prices and put more money into their pockets. Getting this done will offer real relief without compromising the federal government's ability to make infrastructure investments." Now, Whitmer vetoed legislation in April that would have paused Michigan's 27 cents per gallon gas tax. The Michigan governor said at the time that the tax was important for funding infrastructure projects statewide. Governor Whitmer vowed instead to work on the solutions like cutting Michigan's 6% sales tax on gasoline purchases. Republican state representatives also said after Whitmer's veto that with rising prices hammering family budgets, especially at the gas pump and the grocery store, people will need and deserve some help. Lowering taxes is one of the quickest ways and most effective ways to provide financial relief. Instead of blocking legislative efforts, the governor should be working with us to help people in Michigan in their time of need. According to AAA data, the average price of gas nationwide fell to $4.97 per gallon after hitting an all-time record high of $5 a gallon last week. Over the weekend, multiple reports indicate that the Biden administration is considering a couple of options, and Houston must plan to address rising gas prices. According to the Washington Post, Biden said he would make a decision on a gas tax holiday by the end of the week. This would reportedly save Americans. Rebate cards were also considered months ago, and according to another report from the Washington Post, the cards are now being reconsidered as well. Due to gas tax, folks, $5,000 can be claimed right now by many Americans. Negotiations are beginning on boosted cash payments that would actually help provide financial aid to many low-income households. Here is the latest news on another round of stimulus checks. The Alaska Senate approved a state spending package, and that includes spending cash payments of $5,500 for people in Alaska. The package includes dividends of about $4,200 to residents this year, as well as energy relief. These energy relief checks are about $1,300. The vote in Alaska comes as a number of other states are considering sending more direct payments to the residents as Americans continue to grapple with record high inflation and rising gas prices, driven by the crisis. The package passed 15-5 and was sent to the House, and it will be decided whether to agree with the Senate version. The House approved a version of the budget last month, and that included a dividend of roughly $1,250 and a $1,300 energy check.